Welcome to Epic Yarn Gems. Today we'll be doing our first full project. We will be making the Lakeside Beanie. I will put in the description a link to the pattern so that you will have it. We're going to be using I Love This Yarn by Hobby Lobby. It's one of my favorite types of yarn. And the color we're going to be using today is Gray Mist. Also, we will be using our H hook, which is a 5mm hook. The weight of the yarn is 4. So we are going to start this with a magic circle, and we are going to lay our yarn across our 2 fingers, wrap it around, make an X, and then weave it between our ring and our pinky finger, sticking our hook underneath, grabbing and twisting a little bit, and then grabbing that yarn under our ring finger to make the first connection here. So we do have like our first connection, and now we are going to do chain 2. This is a little different than the pattern. They actually have you making the ring with links, actually chains. I just prefer to do it this way, so you can do either way that works best for you. So now that we have the start of it with our chain 2, we are going to put into the center of this loop 10 double crochets. For reminder, a double crochet is a stitch in which you yarn over, go through the middle of your ring, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So we're going to do 10 of these double crochets into the center of our ring. As I'm doing the rest of this, I want to just share a couple things with you about this project. We will be making what I had said is the Lakeside Beanie. It is actually a pretty easy hat to make, and the pattern is from 5 knots north. This is actually one of my favorite patterns that I use to make men's hats, but I think you could use this for women's hats, children's hats, just changing the size of the hook a little bit and the number of rows that you're going to put at the end. This project, you're going to use some of the stitches that I have shown you in my previous videos. So if you need any reminders on how to do those stitches, please refer to those, but I'll also try to go through them slowly here. We want to make sure that we have 10 of the double crochets. So I usually count the V's to make sure that there are 10, and there are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the tail of the magic ring and pull it really tight. This is going to be the top of your hat, so you want to have it nice and tight so that there's not a big hole in the top. So we're going to go back to our first full stitch, not our chain, but our stitch. So you can see that there's a V, and we're going to do a slip stitch. So you're going to go underneath that V. You're going to yarn over, pull through that, and pull through the last chain. And now we're going to do a chain 2, and into that same stitch that we did the chain 2, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you're going to do another double crochet right into that same stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around. So one more time, we're going to look for a stitch, do a double crochet in the next stitch, and another double crochet in that same stitch. So you would have 20 stitches all together when you finish this round. So we're going to continue all the way around the second row of stitches. I want to let you know that this is my first project that I'm doing in the first edit, so it may be a little bumpy in some of the editing that I'm doing, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I hope to get better as I continue. So I appreciate you staying with me on this. So we're coming to the end of this round, and we're going to finish up with our 2 double crochets in that last stitch. And you should, when you're done, like I said, have 20 stitches to work from. So in our next round, we're going to do a little different of a pattern, or at least a different count. So I'm going to start that with you, and we're going to start with a slip stitch. So you can see there's your chain, and you want to go into that first stitch. So I always make sure that my count is what it's supposed to be. It isn't always, and sometimes I have to pull it out, but it is 20 stitches. So what we're going to do now is that slip stitch. So we're going to go under the first V, yarn over, and then we're going to pull that through the underneath the V and then into the stitch. We are going to do 2 double crochets after this. And now our pattern is we're going to do 1 double crochet in that first stitch that we did our chain, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So the pattern is going to be 1 double crochet in one stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and you're going to do that all the way around. So like I've said many times, it's just getting into a rhythm and a flow of a pattern. So after you finish this round, you should actually have 30 stitches altogether. So we're finishing up that round, and we're going to do into that last 2 double crochets to repeat the pattern, and we're going to do the join, which is the slip stitch under the first V, and then pull it through the chain. The next thing we're going to do is 2 double crochets in every third stitch. So what we're doing here is we're actually increasing the width of the hat so that it will fit around the crown of the person's head. So after we've done our chain 2, we're going to do a single crochet in the first stitch. A double crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to double crochet in the second stitch, and then 2 double crochets in the third stitch. So again, the pattern is 1 double crochet in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets in that third stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around until we get to the end of this round. Our next round, we're actually going to do 2 double crochets in every fourth stitch. So as we finish up this round to get our 40 stitches, we're finishing up with our 2 double crochets in that last stitch, and we're going to do our join, which is slipping our hook under that first V in our first stitch, not the chain, and pulling that through the V and pulling it through the chain, and then starting with a chain 2. So this is our next round. So we're going to do a double crochet in the first, a double crochet in the second, a double in the third, and then 2 double crochets in the fourth. So that's our pattern that we're going to follow for this round. And once you're done, you should have 50 stitches all together. And we're just going to end the round like we have done with the other rounds with our simple join. So here we are with our finished row, and now we are going to go on to the next, and this will give us 60 stitches when we're done. So we are going to do double crochets in the first 4 stitches and 2 double crochets in the 5th. So far we've done 3. And we're going to do 1 more in the 4th, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in that 5th stitch, and that will be the pattern all the way around. And once you're done with that, you should have 60 stitches. You're going to finish up this round just as you've done the others, with a join with the slip stitch and the chain 2. So I'm going to finish up this round, and I will meet you when we are going to be starting the last round of increases. So we're going to finish off this round with our slip stitch again. So we're going to do our slip stitch under our first V and pull it through. You can see that there's a little seam going here, but it's not too noticeable. So we're going to do our double crochet, and in that same stitch we are going to do a double crochet in the first stitch, a double crochet in the second, same for the third, same for the fourth and the fifth, and then in the sixth stitch we're going to do our 2 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. Once we finish up, we should have 70 all together, and that will be where we are going to start the rest of our hat. So we're finishing up our last round of increases, so you'll have 70 all together. You're going to join, you're going to do a double crochet, and then you're going to put a double crochet in each of the stitches all the way around the hat. When you get done with this, you should have 70 stitches. It is important to keep track of your stitches so that everything stays uniform. So this row that we're doing with double crochets in each round, we're going to do actually 3 rounds of that. So once you get done with this, you're going to do that 2 more times. So I'm going to let you finish that up, and then I will meet you back when we are actually going to start the base of the hat. It's actually a pretty big rim, but it's pretty fun to do. And that is how we are going to actually finish this project, doing that pattern. So as you can see, it's all of the stitches we've already learned. And once you get into the rhythm, the patterns are really quite easy. It's just a constant repeat of the different things that you have done previously. So it's actually starting to look more like a hat, and we are going to finish up our round by doing our join with that first stitch. We're going to go under it, loop it around, and pull it through both of those. And now you can see it actually starts to look like a little hat. It's not going to keep you very warm. It won't go over your ears at this point, but it's really starting to look like a hat. So next we're going to be working in the posts. So we're going to do a front post. When we go in through the front, around the post, come out the front, and then finish out our double crochet. So for our next stitch, we are going to do the back post. So again, there's your post, and we're going to weave around it, but we're going to come in through the back. And then we're going to weave around that post, come out the back, yarn over, pull through, yarn over again, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to alternate this pattern all the way around the brim. So this in the pattern is actually row 12, and the finishing up of the pattern is just repeating this row 12. So that will be row 13 through row 24. And pretty much that's the end of your hat. But the one thing that, as I've done this, and I've done it for different people, is sometimes I actually end it at row 22. Whatever seems to be the right length for the person that you're making the hat for is the best way to gauge if it's time to stop with these rows or not. So we're going to finish up this round, and at the end of the round we're going to finish out with a back post double crochet, and then once we've completed that, we're going to have to join it to our first stitch of this row. And though it looks a little different, it's really the same type of join. We're going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to find that first stitch, not the chain, but there it is, right over the first post we did, and we're going to go underneath the V and do a slip stitch by gathering the yarn, looping it over, and pulling it through 2. And what we're going to do is we are going to do front posts, back posts, same as we did before, but it's a little easier to see them now because we actually have the front post and the back post to work from, whereas before we were just working off with the double crochets. And you can see there's the one in the back. So we are going to come in through the back, wrap it around, and we are going to finish out the back post double crochet. So as you get more of these rows, it actually becomes more of a pattern, and you can really see how the lower brim is going to look, which I think is pretty cool. So we're finishing up our rounds, and you're going to start to see the pattern more defined with the front posts and the back posts, and we're just going to keep continuing this all the way around. So here we are at our last row. We're going to finish up with our post stitches, and then once we're done, that is it. Most patterns are going to tell you to finish off your last row. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how I do it. There's no right way or wrong way. There's many different ways that people do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this piece of yarn and weave it in. Well, maybe I'm going to cut it off. My scissors aren't very sharp. So we're going to pull it through, and then I'm going to use a yarn needle, and I'm going to join under that first stitch like I normally would, but I'm going to use my yarn needle, and I'm going to come back through the center of the stitch on the other side so that it actually starts to look like a stitch. And then what I do is I pull it together so it makes a uniform base at the end. And once you do that, you're going to go to the inside of your hat, and you're going to weave in that tail that's left over. And it doesn't really matter where you're going to put the yarn, just so that it doesn't show through to the front of the hat. And you're going to go back and forth several times just to secure that tail so that all your hard work doesn't come unraveled. So we're going to finish weaving this in into this seam here. So just weave in as much as you feel comfortable with, and when you're done, cut off the tail of this yarn. At the very end of this video, I'm going to continue to show you how to weave in your ends for the magic ring. It is important to actually do some weaving back and forth and to make sure that's nice and tight, because if you don't, that magic circle could possibly open up and leave a little hole in the top of your beanie. This hat, like I said, I've done quite a few times. I put a pom on it. I've used different colors, and I just really love it. As I mentioned earlier, this is my first project video. It is a little rough. I am learning as I go. I really want to improve on my edits and the information that I share. But if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Turn on your subscription and notifications, and also leave me a comment. I would really appreciate any feedback. Again, thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy your Lakeside Beanie.